Hello, and you're very welcome to Cut Through the Noise with me, Aisling O'Rourke, the communications coach. Cut Through the Noise is the podcast that helps business leaders increase sales through communications and marketing that elevates your brand. This is series 5 of the podcast. So if this is your first time listening or indeed viewing, please do make sure you go back and check out our back catalogue. And yes, you did hear me correctly. I did say viewing. Cut Through the Noise is now available on YouTube under the Communications Coach channel. So hop over and you can see us in full HD if you choose to do so. Today, I'm starting off the podcast with a little bit of good news. Cut Through the Noise has been shortlisted for Best News and Current Affairs Podcast at the inaugural Irish Pod Awards, and I'm absolutely delighted. Being nominated and shortlisted alongside some amazing Irish produced podcasts is really fantastic. And I want to thank all of you who voted for Cut Through the Noise and indeed nominated us for an award. Win, lose or draw, I'm delighted that in our first year of production, we're one of the very few independently produced podcasts to be shortlisted in our category. It's also wonderful to be in the shortlist alongside some excellent former colleagues of mine. Best of luck to everybody involved in all the categories at the Irish Pod Awards, and thanks in particular to Susie Kilcoyne and her team at the Visionary Room for pulling the awards together so that the Irish podcast community has a dedicated awards ceremony for 2024. Now on to today's episode. And, you know, maybe it's just me. I don't think it is, though. It seems like everybody nowadays has their own podcast, and you're probably seeing more and more industry-specific podcasts cropping up. Marketing experts across the world recommend podcasting as both a fantastic brand awareness tool and a way to keep staff informed of the aims of the company across large-scale enterprises. So the question then becomes, do you need a podcast for your business? Podcasting has exploded in recent years in ways that no one really expected. Initially, podcasting was a way for hobbyists to build a platform on early social media networks and for radio stations to allow their audience listen back to content that they'd missed live. Now, podcasting comes in genres, whether it's a solo episode like this one, an interview or panel discussion. They come in all shapes and sizes. Comedy and business podcasts in particular have become extremely popular in the last number of years. Did you know that as of 2023, there were over 2 million active podcasts worldwide? Now, active there is important because, you know, there are many podcasts that have started with great fanfare and then all of a sudden disappeared. And that's unfortunate, but we're just talking about the active podcasts, the ones that are still up and running. And those stats are from 2023. And you know, there are more since then. Podcasts have become a staple in our daily lives, whether it's during the commute, workouts, or while cooking dinner. I love to listen to podcasts as I'm falling asleep at night. But why has podcasting become such a significant medium? Well, podcasts offer a unique and intimate way to engage with content. They allow listeners to consume information on our own terms, and it's a flexible medium that fits into busy schedules. It's a wonderful way to learn, to have something to talk about with colleagues, to build our knowledge without having to perhaps sit down and take a course or, you know, read a book that we don't necessarily have the time to do, even though the topic does interest us. So you might be wondering, this all sounds great, but how does this relate to my business? Podcasting can enhance brand awareness, establish authority, and foster customer loyalty. It's an amazing tool. So if we think about brand awareness first, by sharing valuable content, you position your brand in front of a global audience. Don't get me wrong, I love traditional media. I'm particularly, when it comes to my clients, I always recommend that they look to do radio content. But that's local, that's within your own country or your own regional area, whereas podcasting, well, you know, it can go anywhere. Podcasting also helps you establish authority in a particular industry. So it can offer you the opportunity to showcase your expertise, highlight industry insights. If you niche down, you can get amazing results and really be a unique voice in your sector. It also helps to foster customer loyalty because regular episodes keep your audience engaged and connected with your brand. Consider this, people who listen to podcasts are highly engaged and loyal to the shows they follow. And this then prevents a fantastic opportunity to build a community around your brand. So back then to my question, do you need a podcast for your business? Well, the answer isn't exactly straightforward. Yes, a podcast is an excellent marketing tool, but it is just that, a tool as part of an overall marketing strategy. Podcasting does take time and effort, and it is a slow burner. However, it's a great way to communicate directly with your target audience. It's a way to bypass traditional media gatekeepers and a way to share your story in a way that only you can. I've said this before on this podcast. Trust is a vital currency in business today, and podcasting is a fantastic way to build on that brand trust and credibility to identify you as a unique voice in your specific area. If done well, podcasts can enhance brand awareness, establish authority, and as I said, foster that all-important customer loyalty. However, there is a catch, and I have to be honest, a poorly produced podcast can damage your brand. So before embarking on this journey, please do plan it out. Don't dive in and do something half-hearted. There has to be a strategy here, just like any other part of your business. It's not all that different, really. So before you hit the record button, it's crucial to understand who you're speaking to. So the first thing I want you to think about in this series, specifically about podcasting for business, is who is your target audience? And therefore, who is your ideal listener? What are their interests, their challenges, their needs? What are they worried about? What do they need help with? And how can your podcast provide value to them? By clearly identifying your target audience, you can tailor your content to resonate deeply with your direct audience. Let's talk about numbers for a moment. According to recent studies, podcast listeners are more likely to follow brands on social media and are more inclined to consider new products and services mentioned in podcasts they enjoy. This means that starting a podcast isn't just about sharing your voice, it's a strategic move to grow your business overall. In fact, a study by Edison Research found that 54% of podcast listeners are somewhat or much more likely to consider purchasing from a brand after hearing it advertised in a podcast, while Nielsen's podcast Buying Power report indicates that podcasting ads drive an aided brand recall rate of 71%, showing that listeners remember brands mentioned in podcasts. And on top of that, a study a number of years ago by Stanford University found that consumers are 55% more likely to buy into a brand whose story they connect with. And what better way to share your story than taking control of the narrative and telling it yourself in your own podcast? Let's talk about authenticity for a second. Authenticity, it's a word that gets bandied about an awful lot nowadays. But like I said, if you can align yourself with your audience's values, if you can share your values with your audience and really, quite frankly, practice what you preach, you are more likely to have a successful and sustainable company. You know, sharing your story through a podcast, it's a wonderful way to show your authenticity and really put what you say into action. Perhaps your brand is passionate about environmental initiatives in your local community, or you want to support fellow entrepreneurs. By offering value to your audience, you're letting them see what your values are and therefore whether they align with their own. And based on that, your customer base will decide whether or not they want to do business with you. As we said, podcast is a rapidly growing medium with immense potential for business. So much so, this entire series is going to be based on helping you navigate podcasting, either as a brand new business podcast or even to use other podcasts to grow your business. But more about that in a moment. So it's a rapidly growing medium with immense potential. It offers unique advantages like enhanced brand awareness and customer loyalty. But understanding your audience is the first step in creating impactful content. I hope you're enjoying listening to Cut Through the Noise with me, Aisling O'Rourke. Remember, you can join our community and get a free press release template to kickstart your journey. Plus, gain access to exclusive PR tips and strategies from my 2 decades of experience in media and communications. After this episode, head over to thecommunicationscoach.ie/release to get your free template. The link is also in the show notes below. Over the next couple of weeks on Cut Through the Noise, I'll be walking you through the nuts and bolts of podcasting, from ensuring you have great quality audio to how to use guesting on other brands' podcasting to your advantage. While individual results can vary on the industry, target audience, and overall quality, there's a strong correlation between regular podcast listenership and the increased likelihood of purchasing from the brand. Podcasts can be a highly effective component in a brand's marketing strategy, leading to higher customer acquisition and retention rates. It's something that if you're a business leader, you need to at least investigate and decide whether or not it's for you and your business. Thanks to you for listening to this week's episode of Cut Through the Noise with me, Aisling O'Rourke. Don't forget to hit that follow button on your preferred podcast app to stay updated on each and every one of our episodes. And remember, while content may be king, clarity is key to making sure that you and your brand stand out from the crowd. If you need personalized advice on your communications and marketing strategy, if you need help, if you want to start a podcast of your own, drop me a mail, hello@thecommunicationscoach.ie. I'd be delighted to work with you to help you grow your business. If you found this particular episode of Cut Through the Noise valuable, please do hit that subscribe button and even give us a review or a rating, depending on the podcast app you are using. It really helps to spread the word about the podcast, and it helps other people see it too on their preferred platform. Until next time, I'm Aisling O'Rourke. Stay safe and have a great week.